It's black. Good afternoon. Happy Sabbath. Can we? We're a small group, so can we get a little closer, just a little closer, so it'll be a little bit more intimate. Just squeeze in, maybe pull in a little bit. Good afternoon, everybody online. Um, this afternoon, the family ministries, we're doing Hope Within Reach. And this afternoon, it is covering addictive behaviors. And I thought it was really appropriate to do something like this because of the season, because of the holidays coming. CDC states that the most dangerous months of the year are December, January, and March. So that's covering a lot of holidays between now and the end of the year. So I thought it was really appropriate to have a program covering something important, a little touchy, but very important for the season. So without further ado, I wanted to go ahead and get started. We'll have prayer first, and then we'll have our speaker come up. And we will also have a Q&A session at some point as well. So for you online, for those watching online, stay tuned. Shall we all pray? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to fellowship and enjoy being in each other's presence. We ask, Lord, that you cover this program and bless the messengers who will be here to talk about our topic this afternoon. We pray and ask for your wisdom and comfort for those who will be watching online as well. In your blessed name I do pray, amen. I forgot something, technology. I need to get my phone. Can you have my phone real quick, babe? Okay, talk about technology. I have an introduction, and it's all on my phone. So I do apologize for the slight pause, but I will begin. Our first speaker coming up is our guest speaker, who is Pastor Brinton Mckenzie. And as I am up here looking for his intro, give me just a second. Okay, perhaps I don't need one. Amen. Without further ado, our speaker, Pastor Brinton Mckenzie, he's the pastor of Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church here in St. Louis. So after my voice, we will also hear right before Q&A, we also have a guest speaker from Department of Health, St. Louis Public Health Department. And her name is Izzy. Izzy, can you give me your last name? King, Izzy King. So right before Q&A, we'll have our dear sister Izzy King come up to present as well. So without further ado, Pastor Brinton Mckenzie.
You weren't doing well. Huh? Okay. to stop the neuron from communicating with each other. And the final ways in which drugs affect us on a cellular level is when our neurons release a chemical, for example, dopamine, okay? That substance was not meant to stay in between those neurons for a long time. There's a reuptake mechanism by which the neurons take up that substance and use it again. But drugs like crack cocaine blocks the neuron from reuptaking dopamine. So the reason why you feel so high, I'm sorry, the reason why your cousins feel so high is because that dopamine is still in between the neurons and just keep activating the neurons over and over and over and over again. Let me share something with you real quick. Our brain was not designed to experience this level of pleasure. The highest level of pleasure that our brain was designed to experience without artificial chemicals is sex. And many of us ain't good at it anyway, so. I'm sorry. I thought I was at Korean for a second. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. All right, so that is the highest level of pleasure that our brain was designed to experience. But let me tell you the problem with drugs in the brain right now. You see, when we do something that is good for us, for example, if we exercise, our body secretes something called endorphins. That makes you feel good. And your brain will reinforce you to do it again because it is good for you. Huh? When you eat some broccoli and what else you guys eat? No chicken. Broccoli and carrots and stuff. Okay? When you drink water, you drink it enough. So your brain is designed to reinforce behavior that are good for you. Because behavior that are good for you secretes the right neurochemical. All right? Again, when you exercise, your body secretes endorphins, so you're more likely to repeat it. The problem with drugs in the brain is you are doing something that is not good for you, but the brain is being rewarded with good chemicals. So the brain is Big words. It simply means a circuit on which dopamine flows from one portion of the brain or one part of the brain to the next. Mesolytic dopamine system. This is the primary system that's affected by drugs. Now let's talk about some of these different structures that are affected and what they're responsible for. You ready? All right. Which one do you want to talk about first? My sister said, anyone. Pick one. Prefrontal cortex. We already spoke about it earlier. Now the prefrontal cortex is responsible for executive function and executive control, reasoning, judgment, thoughts, imagination, personality. All of that stuff is controlled by what? Our prefrontal cortex. All right? We have 4 lobes. The brain is divided. The cortex is divided in 4 lobes. We have the prefrontal cortex, occipital lobe. We have the parietal and temporal. Okay? So, think about this. It is responsible for executive function. And drugs affect the prefrontal cortex. Tell me some of the things that will be affected. Judgment. Reasoning. Come on, somebody. Quiet. Emotion. Well, we're going to talk about emotions later. Control. Self-control. What you got? Logic. Yeah. And even personality. Even though personality. Is that important? You better believe it is. Right? And then we talk about amygdala. Oh, man. What's the purpose of the amygdala? It's responsible for flight or freeze. That's the emotional center of the brain. So if we're talking now and a lion comes through the door, your prefrontal cortex is going to turn off and your amygdala is going to be fully activated. Your brain don't want to think. Your brain is trying to survive. All right? So this portion of the brain is also affected by the drugs. And then we have the, which one else do you guys want to touch? Hypothalamus. What is that responsible for? It sits right above the pituitary glands, right? And the pituitary gland is responsible for what? Yeah, hormones, right? That go all over the body. Ladies, stop sitting there. You see, I caught myself. Okay? So it affects, and also, this structure is responsible for 3 primary functions. Eat, sleep, sex. That is why with some drugs you become hypersexual or you lose your sexual desire. That's what I say to Lomax. That's what I say to. And sometimes drugs can cause us to confuse these signals. Where sometimes you're tired and you think you're hungry. Sometimes you think, all right, and leave that alone. And then we have a structure that is very important. Hippocampus. The hippocampus is the relay station of the brain. Every single sensory information goes through the hippocampus, except the smell. That is why we react to information emotionally first before we respond to it logically. Because the limbic system, with the hippocampus and the hypothalamus and the amygdala is centered, is the emotional center of the brain. Does that make sense? All right? But it is the relay station of the brain. So information comes into the brain directly to the hippocampus, and then from the hippocampus, it is sent to different brain regions. Not only that, but the hippocampus is also responsible for consolidating information. It is the only place in our brain that neurogenesis takes place. Neurogenesis is what? The development of new neurons or brain cells. So if your hippocampus is damaged or destroyed, your brain loses the capacity to develop new brain cells. You with me? keep up with that. All right? So this mesolimbic dopamine system flows from the ventral tegmental area, the VTA, all the way to the prefrontal cortex. And it affects all of these substructures. So watch this. Let me show you something that don't really make much sense. I'll talk about that later. Just say no to drugs. Ella Curtis is so simple. Just say no to drugs. The only problem with that is that a portion of your brain that you need to use to evaluate information and circumstances and experience to make a decision is affected by drugs. So it's difficult to just say no. It's like this. It's like telling a bird with a broken wing, just fly. You got some wings, just fly. But we fail to understand that the instrument that people need to will and to make decisions is often the instrument that is crippled by drugs and addiction. Just say no to drugs, that makes a lot of sense if you don't think about it. Right? Once you start thinking about it, it don't really make much sense. Let me talk about this real quick. I think I got about 5 or 10 more minutes. Prophetic time, that is. Right? I want to talk about individual differences. Right? There's a lot of things that make us different from each other. But the 3 primary things are personality, lived experience, and genetic disposition. You will never find 2 people in this world with the same personality, same lived experience, and same genetic disposition. Even if you're identical twins, it's not going to be the same. So these are the 3 things that make us different. Let me show you some numbers real quick, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to tie this into individual differences. Because we are different, the structure and the function of our brains are different. Ready for this? 10%. Do you know what that means? 10%. Remember what I showed you on the slide earlier? That once people get above 26, you see the number decrease in terms of drug users. You saw that? Remember it? I told you I was going to come back to it, right? You thought I forgot. No, I'm coming back to it right now. So only 10% of people who use drugs stay on drugs. Come on, let me try it again. Only 10% of the normal population who use drugs stay on drugs. That's 10 in every 100, 1 in every 10. You know? I don't know, when I learned about drugs initially, they told me if you just smell it, you're gone. You and I know, you know a lot of folks who have used drugs and have turned around. Because from the general population, only 10% of people who use drugs stay on drugs. Now you want to know what 80% is? You ready for this? You ain't ready yet. You guys ready for this? The 80% of people with mental health disorders stay in drugs. Let me try this again. So 10% of the general population of people who uses drugs stay in drugs. Only 10%. But 80% of people with mental health disorder use drugs and stay on drugs. This is statistics from 2016. Maybe it's changed. But this is what I want to underscore. That you cannot talk about substance disorder without talking about mental health. You can't separate that. Because most of the folks who are fighting with substance use disorder is because they have a mental mood disorders. All right? Also, anxiety disorders. Right? And then psychotic disorders. When we talk about psychotic disorder, what are we talking about? Schizophrenia, schizoaffective, schizophreniform, schizoid personality disorder, all of these stuff. Brief psychotic disorder, all of this stuff. Okay? Yes. Um, there are many different reasons. Repeat the questions today.
Later in life, like usually after they've done something to hurt somebody else, and then it comes out that they've been diagnosed with this, some type of mental disorder, but they didn't pick it up as a young person. They were diagnosed later in life, and I was asking, how is that?
So, for example, I know for you guys have been done. Yeah.
Generally, pediatricians don't look at mental health disorders. It's only in the recent years that we even think that mental health disorders can exist in children. So in general, we ignore it.
And even if they do, Dr. Johnson, I think they're going to look for neurodevelopmental disorder. Okay? And then sort of like psychotic disorder, the onset is like 13 to 19. So some mental health disorder are late onset. Okay? And then some of them are also triggered by life experiences and circumstances. Does that make sense? Let me say one thing about this number real quick before we move on. The problem that we don't know, as psychologists, is we don't know if it is substance that induce the mental health disorder, or it is the mental health disorder that induce the substance use disorder. We're still trying to figure it out. Okay? Yes.
So isn't that why they call it a co-occurring disorder?
Yes, ma'am. Is that a great Keisha right there? Yeah, man, that's Keisha. Yes. Or they call it dual disorder. All right? Because it's two disorders at the same time. All right?
Pastor Mckenzie, I was just going to say to this young lady's question, it is that event may have been what it worked up to, but often they go back in history and they look at things in school that happened or experiences in college or even in the workplace that was giving us signals. And we know this from the military. They tell you, watch that guy who's always alone. When I was in New Orleans in the military, we had a suicide on our base. We had to go back. Everybody was interviewed. Like, did you see something different? He never wanted to work out with us. It was 100 in us on the base. We all run together. He never wanted to do that. That was a sign that he was in trouble, that his depression was to this point. And like they start going back and back. They, asked him about his childhood. There were some friends there from Iowa who they came to the Coast Guard together. That's how you kind of find out. You don't see it maybe until that event happens, but there are often signals along the way.
And also remember, I think there's two terms that we can talk about. One is neuroplasticity. The next one is epigenetics. That you can have a predisposition, a genetic predisposition. But remember, genetic predisposition oftentimes need an environmental factor to trigger that predisposition. Does it make sense? For example, if you, I'm going to use something crazy. If you have a predisposition for drinking, if you don't drink, that predisposition will not be activated. All right? Or if you have a predisposition for obesity, but you live in a place like Africa where there's no food, you ain't going to gain no weight. All right? Even though you have the predisposition, but you need environmental factors to stimulate those predispositions. Does that make sense? All right? So some people population report that they're suffering with depression or anxiety. That's 4 out of 10. And remember, these are folks who are reported. So you know the numbers are double, right? Because really what they're going to report it to anybody. All right? So this is a very broad community. So if so many people are dealing with mental health issues, and we know that if you have a mental health issue, you are more likely to use substances. And when you bring substances together with mental health disorder, you know what you're going to get, right? Disaster. Okay? So what are the signs? I'm going to give you some broad signs really quick, okay? If your neighbor's sleeping, just nudge it really quick. Right? Tell them, Pastor, fix it to finish so they can't miss it. All right? And if ain't nobody's been decided this way, I'll be set. These are some of the signs you should look for. Because we're talking about substance use disorder and mental health, I want to give you some broad signs so you can identify the one or the other. Or either both. You ready? Think about this as, bring all of them down. Come on now. 4 Ds. 4 Ds. It's easy for you to remember these 4 Ds. Okay? You ready? What's the first one? Dysfunction. What does dysfunction look like? 2 things you want to look for. They cannot keep a job. And they have a lot of issues with relationships. That's it. Oh my goodness. Don't get mad with me now. All right? Those are the 2 big things you want to look for. That is dysfunction in a nutshell. Okay? The next D is what? Distress. Distress just means psychological or emotional pain. And the funniest thing about it is, even if they are not feeling pain, they are causing pain to someone else. Do you know you got some dysfunctional folks who are okay with your dysfunction, but it's killing you? Huh? Oh my goodness. All right, let me leave that alone. What's the third one? What was it deviant for we're talking about? They are going in opposition to conventional cultural beliefs and rules and routine. Okay? All right? And the final one is dangerous. These are the 4 signs you want to be looking for. Because these 4 signs cover substance use disorder and also mental health issues. You got some cousins who are very dysfunctional and you think you're just lazy. That might not be the case. All right then. Treatment approach. I think I got 2 more slides on that. Let me see. First, number 1 is prayer. My wife said to me, why do you put prayer as number 1? I said, because it's a church presentation. But on a serious note, the first step is prayer. Why? You want to ask God for direction. Do you know, a lot of times, counseling don't work because you're not connected to the right person. Yeah. If there's not a connection between the counselor and the client, it's not going to work. I'm going to talk about this. So you want to pray. But prayer is just the first step. Adventist prayer is just the first step. The second one is seek what? And make sure I clarify this. Seek professional help from a licensed mental health provider. You want a specialist. And let me break something to you. If you go to somebody for counseling with addiction, don't let them tell you that they're going to use addiction counseling. There's no such thing as addiction counseling. It don't exist. I'm going to give you some specific counseling modalities that are proven effective with addiction. The third one, 5AY. Do you know the difference between treatment and support? What do you call this one? What is it called? A something? AA what? Yeah, all the AA ones. They are wonderful and they have helped a lot of people. But remember, they are support group, not treatment group. So what you want to do is get treatment first and then find a support group. A support group is not designed to treat substance use disorder. It is designed to support people who are coming out of treatment. You still with me? Yes. All right, cool. All right. I think I'm going to make it through this presentation. Nobody else told me yet. Depends on your family life. Oh, she got something. I don't know what she got, but she got some qualifications. Yeah, she all right. She all right. Number 4. What is number 4? Learn more about your family member's specific substance use disorder. Please. If you got a son or a daughter or a spouse and you're struggling with drinking, you want to educate yourself more about drinking issues. Why you want to do that? Because you want to become a source of support. Now let me show you some specific treatment, specific counseling modalities that's proven effective with substance use. Remember, if you go to a specialist or you go to a counselor and they tell you that they use addiction counseling, tell them there's no such thing as addiction counseling. And give them a number, let them call me. So you can use, yes.
Can you tell us why there is no such thing as addiction counseling and why it doesn't work?
So there are different types of counseling that are used to treat addiction. But there's no addiction, there's no such counseling approach that is called addiction counseling. Does that make sense? Every counseling modality has a specific name. You with me? So I'm going to give you the ones that are used for addiction. These are the 3 biggest ones that are used for addiction. Behavioral treatment, cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT. Yeah. Very good. You know what I need to talk to you. And motivational interview was designed specifically for addiction. It was designed specifically for addiction because what motivational interview does is rolls with resistance. You can't help somebody that is actually dealing with substance use disorder by confrontation. You got a problem. You got it. No, okay? So these are 3. These are not the only ones. I'm not saying these methods are exclusive, but they are good. And the thing, listen, this is it. The thing I love about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is it is evidence-based. A lot of these counseling methods that they use, so you gotta be careful, okay? You gotta be careful. So when you go to somebody for counseling, You got to know specifically what method you're using and how effective is this method as it relates to substance use disorder. Does that make sense? All right. I think this is my last slide. Do I take questions now or do I let her present first? All right. Any questions? Yeah, I see one. Okay. You from Berea too? Berea folks, I gave you that tough question. So CBT, one of the reasons why it's so effective is because it is two methods that are merged together. It is cognitive and behavioral therapy. Okay? What CBT does is, and one of the reasons why it's so effective, is it addresses what we call, come on baby, tell me the word now. What CBT deal with? No, it can be good trauma, but specifically, it is dealing with distorted thinking. Distorted thinking. Thinking traps. Yeah. Because remember, and this is the principle, Brother Walter, the way we think affects the way we feel. And the way we feel determines what we do. So there's this connection between our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior. And that is what CBT is designed to disrupt. I read somewhere in a good book that as a man think that it is hard, so is it. So oftentimes we are depressed because we're thinking depressive thoughts. And if we can change the way we think, we can change the way we feel. So some mental disorders, sometimes depression is psychological and not chemical. And that is what CBT is specially designed to do. Same thing with substance use disorder. It is designed to interrupt the craving mechanism. So that's one of the reasons why it is effective. Okay? Any more questions?
There was a word that started with the letter A. Likes it, it wants more of it. You were saying that you wouldn't exercise a lot.
Are you talking about endorphins?
Say that one time.
Endorphins.
Endorphins.
Yes.
That's the A, right?
No, it's an E. It's an accent.
Okay.
Okay, it's an accent.
So if drugs are bad for the body, but your brain senses something that it likes, that can lead to the addiction.
That's the problem. You notice we haven't talked about the mechanism of addiction yet. We can't talk about it this one. Because, not because somebody's using a substance consistently, don't mean that they're addicted to it. And also, physical or biological tolerance in itself is not addiction. If that was the case, when people go to rehab and come back, it would be fine. Because that is designed to give their brain enough time to readjust, but they still come back and start doing some stuff. So that's a different subject. Yes. All right. Any more questions? Yes. Treatment. Okay. And again, anybody wants this slide. Preach, I don't know if you can save it on your computer or just get with my girlfriend and she'll give it to you. Give her your email address. Don't be trying to email her cover card and stuff. She stopped working at about 5:30 in the evening, okay? But she can send the slide to you. This one, no external chemical that's affecting the brains, right? You know a lot, you know a lot. So what is the mechanism that causes something like gambling, which no chemical, no external chemicals are involved? Guess what? It's the same mesolimbic dopamine system. It's the same thing. Remember, that system can be triggered not just by external chemical, but by specific behavior. All right, let me see. There's not a lot of kids in church, so I can say. Remember, I talked about the most amount of pleasure that our brain is designed is through sex. There's no external chemicals involved, but the mesolimbic dopamine system is still triggered by dopamine. All right, and that can also lead to addiction. So this is it. Let me try to put it really simple. Anything that produces a chemical reward can lead to addiction. Anything at all. I'm sure in the future they're going to have a long list of different addictions. Long list. All right. Anybody? Yes, my sister. I would love to talk about that, but they said I got to stay with substance use disorder. So I want to stay with substance use disorder. But if you come back with me, invite me back to talk about mental health, I can talk about some of that stuff. Anybody else? I think I'm going to turn the mic over to somebody else. Yes. And let me tell you something I was going to start a conversation with, but I didn't. I was going to start a conversation with a question. Is mental health a sin? Is mental health a sin? Is substance use disorder a mental health? Or mental illness? Is it a mental illness? So is substance use disorder a sin? You see why I was begin the conversation with that? So as a church, let me say this as I close. Do we treat people who are fighting with substance use disorder as sinners or sick? You got to reflect that on your board. You got to reflect that on your board when you vote to take people out of office because they have a drinking problem. I'm serious now. If you think it's a sickness, you got to be very careful. And do you know what I do as a pastor and someone that is passionate about mental health? I met a lot of folks who were fighting with smoking. And I'm not done enough to tell them they just need to quit. I got board members who I encourage, listen, let's talk about how much you smoke daily. They said, Pastor, I'm smoking 10. I said, okay, let's work on 9 for next month. Let's work on 8 for the next month. All right? Let's set that thing down. Because some of you crazy folks just stay focused and stop. put your mouth where your money is. Speak up or shut up. That's what they say. I don't know. I've been in the street in a long time. Make sure that's a part of your policy. Don't just say it, but demonstrate that when it comes to this. All right? I think I got two more questions and then I'm going to sit down.
And I am very thankful to Lynette and the ministry for allowing you to do this presentation because it's education. As you were saying that mental health or substance use disorder, we stigmatize people, we ostracize them when they have substance use disorder. It's because we don't see it as we see it as a behavior, not a mental health condition, another condition that affects the brain structure. So I think the more we are educated on it, our behavior or towards the person who has that illness will change. So I thank you for that.
And if you keep rebuking it from the pulpit, it's not like folks are going to stop doing it. They're just going to stop telling you. You know, right? They're going to stop doing it. But they're going to stop revealing that they're doing it. And once they stop talking, it's very difficult to help them. So you want to create an environment where people feel as if they can talk to you about it. Because if they're talking, you can help them. But if they ain't talking, they must be getting. All right, I'm going to take one more and then I'm going to take my seat. I keep saying that. Yes, all right, two more then. Go ahead, Keisha, what you got?
I'm just curious to know, how do you feel about, or how important do you think it is to be familiar with the 5 stages of change or the 6 stages of change when it comes to substance use or substance abuse? How important do you feel it is to be aware or to know about they call it the 5 stages, but it's really like 6 stages of change.
Give me 1 or 2.
Like pre-contemplation, contemplation, behavior.
Yeah, that's very important. As a matter of fact, those 5 stages are also applicable to counseling. You know that, right? Those 5 stages are. When somebody is ready, it's easier for you to help them. They're ready. If they're not ready, or worse, if they don't even know that they have a problem, it's very difficult to help them. And that's the reason why counseling don't work sometimes. Because a lot of people who are going to counseling are not ready for counseling. And no matter how skillful a counselor is, it's not going to work. So yes, I think it is important. I think it's important. And those 5 stages are also a motivational, you got something in there. You got something. Let me talk to you about it and give them over there to Korea and work with us, okay? I'll talk to you about that. All right, thank you folks. Thanks for your participation. Appreciate it. I'm not leaving. All right, I'm staying.
Real quick, someone lost their teeth, some teeth, and if you're in need of this, just see me in the booth after. I will not do that, Elder Mckenzie. But we just want to make sure everybody. We're not going there. So, Lynette, if you want to introduce our next presenter, I'll do a little training with her.
So our next presenter, she is from, she's a health education coordinator, and she actually works with Ernie in the Department of Health, Public Health Department of St. Louis County. With over 10 years experience in health care and social services. I'm gonna skip down to, yes, she is with the St. Louis County Department of Public Health, where she primarily coordinates education and outreach efforts related to substance use disorder. In her free time, she enjoys hiking with her son and going to the library. That's something that is, people don't do that anymore, so I'm really impressed with that. So, hear ye, Izzy King.
Thank you for having me today, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I am just trying to, it says connection. So, I am just going to talk to you guys a little bit more about what I do at the county. I won't go through the entire training. I can share a link that has a 12-minute video on YouTube that we just created recently that talks about overdose education and naloxone distribution specifically for anybody that's interested, and if anybody would like to carry naloxone, just let me know and I can get that to you. So I came into the county in March of this year, and their campaign that they had previously set up was Anyone Can. And this campaign was an effort to reduce the stigma around substance use disorder. So, kind of an empowering statement of like anyone can be impacted by substance use disorder, but also anyone can save a life with naloxone, anyone can, seek treatment. We just really want to empower the community. We had faces of people who were going through substance use disorder as part of that campaign, as well as treatment providers. So we're trying to revitalize that at this time. We have a action plan that is brand new that we just published this year. And there are 5 priority areas in this action plan, which is education, prevention, which is mainly what I do, harm reduction and rescue, treatment, recovery, and public health surveillance. So as you probably know, we are preparing for opioid settlement funds to come through, and we're trying to implement programming that we can use to really impact and help the community that needs it. So I'm going to skip some of this boring stuff. I'm going to so you'll see me skip a few slides, but I wanted to touch on how illicit substances are affecting St. Louis specifically, so that you guys are aware of what's going on in our community. So in 2018, St. Louis County Executive declared a public health emergency to intensify the efforts to combat the opioid crisis. And as you can see, in St. Louis County specifically, Black males have been the most impacted by mortality related to substances. So this has gotten so bad, it actually got much worse during the pandemic when people were isolated and alone, that the Department of Mental Health reached out to some individuals and asked them, like, what can we do because Black males and females are dying at like very alarming rates related to substances. So there is an organization. We partner with a lot of organizations at the county. So one of them is Grow STL, and we're working on outreach efforts with them to get to the community that is in need of the services that we offer. So one of the things that I notice when I go out into the community, like when I go into North County where there are higher rates of overdose, there is a lot more resistance that I'm being met with in those communities, whereas I am being invited or asked to come to Chesterfield and Kirkwood where those rates are not as high. So, and I think that it is because of the stigma that we are attaching to substance use, and so we like the pastor was saying, we really huge problem in St. Louis. Fentanyl is very potent, and so that is a substance that even just a small amount can lead to a fatal event, especially if a child were to get their hands on that. There have been instances recently of children also like getting their hands on substances, which is really sad. So we need to be aware of that. But also xylazine, this is a veterinary medicine. This is something else that's an emergent issue. And then keep in mind that substances aren't always used like exclusively like just one. Like a lot of some people are mixing substances. So some people might not even realize that they're smoking marijuana that's laced with fentanyl. Some people might think they're taking one thing and it actually might be just pure fentanyl, or they might be mixing and kind of having like almost like a trail mix of substances. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. So in the darker regions, you can see that is where the overdoses are occurring more often, and there's higher rates of overdose. And so most of these are in North County, and so we are trying to really just partner with churches, rec centers, and libraries. We will be starting a program in the county libraries in the springtime where people can pick up naloxone from the libraries. So that is something that we're very excited about because we want to enhance the accessibility of naloxone to the community. So I won't go through like what our opioids because we already heard really great presentation on all of that. But I'm going to pause right here and just highlight a couple of risk factors. One of the risk factors that we know of, especially related to overdose, is people who are recently released from incarceration. They're at a much higher risk for overdose, so for that reason, the St. Louis jail has been giving out naloxone during discharge processes. But please keep in mind if you know anyone, any family members who are being released, like keep an eye on them, offer them that extra support, and consider having some naloxone present in your home in case you're with this person and something happens. And then also keep in mind that there are many seniors who are prescribed opioid medications for pain. So keep that in mind as well. That's another reason to keep that to keep naloxone on hand. And then also people who are just isolated or experiencing homelessness, they also are at higher risk for overdose. So sometimes if I am doing outreach and I notice someone who is unhoused, I'll ask them. And of course, if somebody says no, we're not going to force them to take anything. Yes, ma'am. Naloxone. So naloxone is a life-saving medication. Let me go forward. Okay, so naloxone is a life-saving medication that can reverse the opioid overdose. So I can get to that in just one moment. Actually, I'll just go ahead and touch on this right now and go back. So at the county, we give out the nasal spray. So it's a box that has 2 of those spray applicators, and if somebody were to overdose, which I will show you, these are the signs and symptoms. So when you're looking for an overdose, you will see that they may display symptoms such as their breathing may be slowed or gone completely. Lips and nails might be blue. They may not be moving. You can hear gurgling sounds, almost like snoring coming from their throat, and their skin may feel cold and clammy. So the first thing you want to do is try to wake them up, and if they can't be woken up, you will check to see if they have a pulse. Because naloxone is distributed through the cardiovascular system, so if your heart is not beating, then you won't be able to get the medicine throughout your system. So the first thing that you want to do with this person is make sure they have a pulse, and if not, administer CPR before giving them the naloxone. So naloxone also is called Narcan, that's the brand name. And call 911 immediately. So once you're administering the Narcan, you open the packaging, hold the applicator applicator, so go ahead and place it into the nostril, occlude the other nostril, so just hold that closed, and then spray, and then place the person in the recovery position. So it's shown here is this person is on their side with their top leg bent. This is important because if this person wakes up and starts vomiting, their vomit will go on the side and they won't choke on their vomit. So you want to lay them in that recovery position, and if they don't wake up in about 2 or 3 minutes, administer the second dose, so there's going to be 2 of those in the box, into the other nostril. And make sure, of course, that 911 is on the way. Because even if the overdose is successfully reversed, you need to give them, you need to make sure that they see a medical professional. So let me go backwards for a second here. Another thing to keep in mind is that Missouri Good Samaritan Law is designed for people to save lives and seek emergency help if they experience or witness a drug or alcohol overdose or medical emergency. Under this law, the person who seeks medical help and the person experiencing the medical emergency will be protected from minor drug and alcohol violations. So this limited immunity does not provide immunity from other crimes related to distribution of substances, manufacturing drugs, or active warrants. But just keep in mind that, in relation to minor drug offenses, if you're present when somebody is overdosed, regardless of what's going on, this law is supposed to be protecting you, so that people will seek help in their life to be saved.
A couple of different locations about, thank you, getting some Narcan, so that we can have it when we're out doing ministry, because we see people, most of the population that we serve are homeless people, and we actually see them shooting up and snorting and doing all kinds of things while we're out there feeding and clothing. So is there gonna be a cost related? Because the cost that I was quoted before was like $300 and some odd dollars. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way we can afford that, because it's just a couple of families doing ministry.
Yeah, no, if you want to receive Narcan for your efforts, we give it completely for free. So if you want to connect with me, I can make sure that you get some for your efforts, and I appreciate that you're reaching out to that community. Thank you so much. I did, somebody else had brought up harm reduction. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. I wanted to go back to harm reduction. So the organization I worked at previously was a nonprofit in Atlanta, and we were really heavy on harm reduction, and so I'm really trying to implement more of that in the county's efforts and the way we do things. So Narcan is a tool that is used for harm reduction because it does reduce the harm of substance use, opioid use by being able to reverse the impacts of an overdose. Harm reduction is really about respect for people who use drugs and meeting them where they're at. Everybody has a different journey for different reasons, and so the National Harm Reduction Coalition, if you ever had a chance to check out their website, it's really informational, but I just want to highlight the 8 principles of harm reduction. So we have non-judgmental approach to people who use drugs. We're not going to get anywhere with people if we're judging them, like it was mentioned earlier. So people who use drugs have a voice in creation of policies and programs. So if you are implementing a new program, it's really important that they have a say in what's going on, because they are really the experts of that experience. Another thing is minimizing the harmful effects of drug use. So we have, in addition to passing out Narcan, we have a safer use, like little pass out that talks about how to prevent hepatitis C and HIV transmission from injection drug use. We talk about not using alone, because if using a loan, if something happens, nobody's gonna know, nobody can give you Narcan. So, just really minimizing effects like in those ways. Successful interventions and policies are focused on quality of individual and community life. So the quality of life, not necessarily the cessation of drug use. So I was very fortunate to work as part of the Housing First initiative in Atlanta. So that meant that it didn't matter whether or not people were actively using substances, they were eligible for housing. And I hope that we can see something like that here. I'm really advocating for that in the county to try to have funding for recovery housing or just for housing, because whether or not somebody is using substances, they should have access to a safe home. And the research shows that like people are able to do better in their recovery when they are housed versus when they are living on the streets. And there's an impact of poverty, trauma. There was all, this conversation, you guys, about mental health disorders. So, trauma and social inequities, this all ties together. And so we have to be mindful of how this is all impacting people with substance use disorder and address those disparities as well. We do not ignore the harm that is associated with drug use. We know that there are consequences, and we, talk about those consequences with people who are, using substances. They can make, to the best of their ability, informed decisions. We're having those conversations, but being sure not to have a judgmental approach. And we affirm that people who use drugs are primary agents of reducing harm. And we know that also substance use disorder is very complex, and there's so many different factors that go into it. So, how do we implement these type of principles? As somebody already said before, we're not going to use words like "are you clean?" because that implies that you're dirty if you're not clean. So we talk about sobriety. We talk about people who use drugs. We say those words. So we have to be mindful of our language and really have just like we would with anybody else, have respect for people regardless of where they are in their journey. Someone else asked about the cycles of change. So, of course, we talk about meeting people where they're at. And during the pre-contemplation phase, we know that people are not really feeling like there's a problem that they need to change. So this is a great point where we can just educate people on harm reduction. Hopefully we can get someone to close by to them, or even carry Narcan, because if they don't see a problem, then there's not going to be a change. But once you get to the point where like, I've been missing, I miss my, they start realizing like it's affecting their life. Contemplation, they realize that there's something that's going on, maybe they need to change. Preparation, you get ready to make the change. So one of the resources that is offered at St. Louis County is medication-assisted treatment. So that is an option for people that are wanting to get away from opioid use. There's a couple of different medication-assisted treatments. There is Suboxone, and there's a couple other things. So there's specific requirements to participate in the program at the county, but if you can't meet those requirements, then they will warn transfer you to other organizations that should be able to provide those services. So actions, implementing the changes, going to whether it be therapy as well as medication-assisted treatment, support groups, and abstaining from substance use. Those are actions. And then maintenance phase is when you maintain those behaviors to continue on that path of sobriety. During this cycle, at any point, somebody can fall backwards. There can be any number of reasons for why somebody may end up going in the opposite direction. There might be a triggering event, such as like a traumatic emotional event. It can also be someone told me that their son was doing very well and he had like a surgery and the medication that was prescribed as part of his recovery from the surgery caused him to go back to substance use. So it's hard. It's very hard for people. It's a lifelong battle, and so it's something that it's really important to have a good support group. And so we already skipped ahead to how to use the Narcan. I wasn't even really planning on talking about how to use the Narcan. So, yeah, we talked about all of that. So I just want to highlight that we do have this community distribution program. People can walk into any of our St. Louis County locations. We have John C. Murphy in Berkeley. We have a North County location in South County. And you can request Narcan at the clinic. You don't need to show an ID. You can be completely anonymous, and they'll just give you the Narcan. You can walk out. Or also, you can request it to be mailed out. I'll put a QR code in a few moments here, where you can use your phone to scan the QR code, and we'll mail it out to any residents within the state of Missouri. And then, let's see, yeah, so that's just a little process for distribution, and this presentation is really for like people that are going to be distributing. So but if you ever do give Narcan to someone, just remember to have empathy, meet them where they're at, be mindful of your language, try not to be condemning, and be compassionate towards these individuals. In our little bags that we hand out with the Narcan, it has a box that has 2 doses. It also has a overdose education form, overdose education nonsense distribution form that we just created that has the signs and symptoms of overdose, as well as a reminder of how to administer the Narcan. And then we have the Good Samaritan law on that form as well, and then a safer use card and information for how to reduce harm with substance use. And anybody who wants training for themselves or for another organization, or just want the link to the YouTube video that we made, you can let us know. And these are the addresses here to each location where you can pick up Narcan. And we want to make sure that it's getting into the hands of people that need it. So please just spread the word that that this is something that the county does. I just want to remark that the county has been giving out free Narcan since at least 2020, and there are so many people, especially higher risk zip codes, that still don't know that this is available for free. Yeah, so let's please help us to spread the word. We really want to reduce overdose. Right now, these efforts are specifically targeted, as you can see, at opioid use. However, we are working on, building out efforts to address like methamphetamines, and also to figure out how to educate the community around the marijuana, which is the legalization will be implemented, I believe, in February. So we need, even with that being legalized, we need to talk about how to keep that away out of reach of kids. That stuff looks like candy. And that is, even if it's legal, it is toxic, and it can harm even adults, if you take it too much, but especially children. So, we are working on these conversations, and we always welcome people who have thoughts, suggestions, who want to partner together, or anything like that. And I'm just grateful that you guys have me here tonight. So thank you.
Okay. So it is 5:37. Did anyone have any questions for Izzy or even Pastor Mckenzie regarding our topic tonight? I did have one question. Izzy, you were mentioning that since you all have been, St. Louis County has been focusing on North County and been faced with resistance. What kind of resistance? Where is it coming from?
So yeah, I just have a lot of community members tell me like, oh, well, I don't talk to those people. I don't, if I know somebody is using the drugs, I just, I don't associate with them. Like I mean, we've gone out to barber shops and all kinds of places, and, I try to figure out like, okay, where's the hangout spot? And, one gentleman, just very well-intentioned, I was like, man, like, but this would be such a great place for people to have that. And so yeah, it's just really, that they just.
Resistance, and I don't mean to cut you off, but resistance, it sounds like it's coming from us.
Yes, yeah, and
regarding our own people.
yes, and I think it's, the stigma that, it's this condemnation type of mindset that we have. I mentioned that we have this mail-out program. I get so many requests from rural Missouri, as well as Chesterfield, Kirkwood, places where there are fewer of us, and it's almost like those individuals are more, I guess, compassionate towards substance use, whereas we are more condemning of one another, and that is costing our lives. So yeah.
Wow. So we have a question back here, but what I want to make clear is people, because I used to hear in the past that, the government is not helping us. They're not coming to help us. They, this big opioid thing is an issue, and it's just their issue because they spoke up. No, government is reaching out to us. We need to open the doors to our own people to help our own people, is what it sounds like we need to be doing. So that we definitely need to remove this stigma because we're hurting ourselves and we're hurting our own people. So with not helping. So,
Izzy, do you know if you guys have that 1-800 number for if someone is using along, they could have someone on the other end? Illinois does have that. They can call into this number. They can use while on the phone. If the overdose happens, then an ambulance can be brought to the home, or brought to whatever location. I didn't know if you guys had that.
I'm not aware that we have that, but I will ask about that and see if there's,
It was implemented during COVID for Illinois, so yeah.
Thank you for telling me.
Is it possible that we can have a second session to actually look at the symptoms of when someone is experiencing an overdose? Possibly, we don't know that, and even though, you might be in the presence of someone, but, I mean, as you're saying, I'm like, that guy that father was falling asleep in my office. Was he an overdose?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can talk about that at depth. Yes.
Yeah, I heard you mention St. Louis County.
Yes.
So let's say, who would I go to for someone in St. Louis City? I used to work for the Salvation Army veteran residents, working with veterans with mental health issues and drug substance use disorders. So I want to get that information to my colleague, former colleague, but it's in the city. So who would I go through?
So you want Narcan for
they
that?
They have Narcan,
oh,
but I would like for you to present this information.
Oh, yeah. I'm typically I can present, in the city as well. So especially we're working together with the city on the community health improvement plan, and this is one of the areas. So I'm pretty sure I can get approval to go over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just checking to see if we had any other questions. Before we close.
Okay. When dealing with fentanyl in general, I'd like to know what the risk is to the general public, with helping someone, and, you're going to be, if you're going to be distributing Narcan, if, I'm not sure. Yeah, how it's going to affect you in general. I mean, because you can't just walk into a situation blindly.
Right.
There's a certain amount of discretion that's got to be.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So when you are, when you try to help reverse an overdose for someone, once they wake up, they may be combative because they might be a little upset that you just disturbed their high, and they may have some nausea, some vomiting, and those type of symptoms. I will say, yeah, a lot of times I give this presentation with like the concept in mind that I feel a lot of us have people that we know who are using substances, whether we know it or not. And so, because substance use disorder for some people can be easy to hide, but if you are encountering like a unknown person, or even if that person that you do know is combative, you definitely need to do what you need to protect yourself. So if you need to call someone else for help, or just, kind of step away from the situation. I used to do case management, and I've been in situations where people became combative. So I had one person completely destroy my phone. So, I understand what that's like. I've had coworkers who, had other problems as well. So that is something that can occur. So just do your, I would say, if you can remove yourself from a situation to keep yourself safe, definitely do that. Like, your safety, of course, is, of utmost importance. We want to help people, but we can't help people if we lose our lives doing it. So, of course, self-preservation is important.
So in addition, what we were actually talking about is that if the person is exposed to fentanyl and you're coming in and you're administering Narcan, how would your exposure to fentanyl, what danger would that pose for you as a correct?
Okay, so yeah, for fentanyl, it is very potent. So I don't have a lot of information regarding to what extent the secondary effects may go to. I know that police officers have had the same question. There's a different entity that trains the police officers, and so that is a concern in relation to them. I can try to find out from our contact at DOTS, that's who trains the police officers, because that question comes up. If and when possible. I know masks aren't really a big thing now, but if you do happen to have a mask on and that is a concern, of course an N95 mask and maybe gloves in that situation. I know a lot of police officers wear gloves or carry gloves with them when they go into a scenario where they think that fentanyl or another substance may be present, that can help protect you. But yes, definitely be mindful of because it could be, especially if it's powder, it could be easily inhaled. No, you're fine.
My question is for people that we service on the street, and we've met people that wanted help, or they're saying that they want to help, they want to get clean, they want a facility to go to. And I've had people tell me that they've been on, I think it was Suboxone, and it was so expensive that they couldn't maintain the treatment. One young lady told me hers was wherever she was getting it from, it was $700 a pill. So she couldn't maintain it. And I know the person personally, so I don't think that she was lying about it. I don't know where she went. So are the services that you're speaking of, are they free?
So for the county, the treatment program, I believe, is on a sliding scale. And then I think one of the requirements for the county medication assisted treatment program is that you have to have been receiving primary care through their clinics first. So if that is not the case, then they have been warm transferring, I'm told, to other organizations. And I don't know if they're transferring to organizations that have a cost associated with it. But we are building out our new website, and we have some treatment providers' information on there. And when we were selecting who to place on the website, we were being mindful of free providers or low cost, because we don't want that to be a prohibitive factor.
So I think this is the part of the program we're going to conclude this evening. I want to thank Pastor Mckenzie and thank all of you for coming out to support, along with Izzy from the St. Louis Public Health Department. I also want to say, it sounds like we're going to do a part 2 of this soon. It would be nice. I am inviting Pastor Mckenzie to come back. Yes, sir. Well, the Berean folks can come here like they did today to support you. So we're stealing you away for one afternoon, I hope. Again, I hope, in love, we're stealing them away for just an afternoon. This was a wonderful program, amen? Amen. I want to close, and again, I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. Keep people in prayer, because time is wrapping up, but that doesn't mean anything with substance, with addictive behaviors, people struggling with that. So keep that in mind. We need to pray for people. We need to pray for our communities, because people are really struggling. And I think with this COVID brought out and caused a lot of things to be turned upside down, this whole world. So a lot of people with issues, it really surfaced. So I thought this was really important to talk about, and we need to talk about it more so that we can remove the stigma, so we can bring back the love that a lot of those people we probably even see sometimes and don't know. So I wanted this program to be a start of something that where we can reach. So hope within reach, all right? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for being here with us, being in the midst today. I pray, Lord, and ask that this message, this movement will continue throughout this week. Protect those who are suffering, Lord. Be with them, comfort them. The holidays are coming up, and a lot of us don't have the tools or the resources to help, and I'm asking you, Lord, to reach and comfort. In your blessed name I do pray. Amen.